In this picture, you can see hour 5 of a workshop that was meant to be an hour long. And you might not be able to tell it from my face, but I was ecstatic. What was shaping up to be one of the worst kickoff workshops in my career ended up being one of the most memorable. So we were invited by the city to help them write an application for an innovation grant. We prepared a kickoff session that would gather all of the relevant stakeholders, during which we would be basically able to collect all of the insights, but also goals that each party might have. Now, we've been warned. They only have an hour. They typically do it by sending to each other a list of documents that they provide feedback to. They don't do these collaborative style works. They've tested it, they've tried it, doesn't work. And so that's what we've prepared. An hour-long session that is basically a kickoff that brings everyone on the same page and that allows us to then work on the documents. Now, an hour into the workshop, an interesting thing started to happen. More and more people started saying, oh, don't worry, I pushed my meeting, my call, my session to another day. Somebody else will pick up my kids from school. I'm good, I can stay for longer. And so in the end, we stayed for 5 hours. 5 hours of real in-depth work and discussions, super honest, super to the point, and super effective. Now, how did that happen? I'll share with you some of the key tips that I have for running really successful workshops. But before I do, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and leaving a thumbs up if you like this video. Tip number 1, let people know that you're a safe space. People coming to these sessions have some preset expectations about yourself, but also about others in the room. Let them know from the get-go that you're a safe space, that they can comment, critique, argue with you, and that you will not be offended. That your role there is to hear them out, understand what they want to bring into the conversation, understand their viewpoints, but also the dilemmas they might have. Make sure that you communicate that from the get-go, but also as you go through the workshop, be that. Be calm and collected, be listening, don't take things personally. It's important for them to really see you embody this space. You might want to introduce Chatham House rules. So you let them know that you might be quoting some of the things that they said, but without really noting who said that or what institution is that coming from. These little things are super important at the very beginning to establish trust and to create a space for real free discussion and collaboration. Tip number 2, make everybody's voices heard. I'm sure you've been there. There are people in each and every workshop that are ready to just take the stage, speak on behalf of everybody else, just continuously bring their input into the conversations. And then there are those who are super silent, withdrawn, who have a ton of valuable insight to give. However, they're not that forthcoming with it. They might be a little bit shy, intimidated, or basically not willing to share that when others are basically dominating the stage. Your role in that situation is to really balance the input. It is your role as a moderator to make sure that some people do not dominate and that others really have the opportunity to speak. There are many ways to do it. It's sometimes through your communication, the way you moderate the discussion, but sometimes it can be done through workshop design, creating exercises for smaller groups, making sure that in each and every group there is at least 1 or 2 people who will be taking notes from everybody around the table. So make sure you both design your session in a way that allows for input from many different stakeholders, but also that as you go through that session, you really pay attention to listening to everyone and to bringing all of the voices into the conversation. Sure, there might be people who might not want to really speak out loud, speak to everybody in the room. That's fine. You need to respect that. However, if only you see that somebody might want to say something, but they don't have a way to do it, bring them in. More often than not, what they bring to the table is extremely valuable. So make sure you make all of the voices heard. Tip number 3, be flexible. I'm sure you've done your homework. You have a scenario of a session ready and really well thought out. However, your role as a moderator is to really go through the session being in tune with your participants. listen to what they need, observe the situation. Perhaps you will need to pivot midway through the session to really make the most out of the session that you're running. If you have good reasons for changing things on the fly and you explain them well, people will appreciate that. So you've created the safe space for people to express themselves. You've made their voices heard. And you're flexible. You're adjusting to the situation and to the needs of people who came to the session. Now I have one more story and a bonus tip for you. It was one of these events during which you have a group of stakeholders who go through different sessions delivered by different organizations, all towards one goal. Unfortunately, in this case, the morning sessions were not that successful, to put things mildly. People were tired, grumpy, bored out of their minds, and to be honest, quite frustrated. Now, that's not the best audience if you're the next one to go. I remember walking to the stage, looking at the people, and being quite petrified. They really didn't seem like they could take any more minute of a workshop, and I had 2 hours ahead of me. I looked at the room and said, "Do you know when a joke becomes a dad joke?" Some confusion in the room, dead silence. So I answered, "When it becomes apparent." Some face palms, some timid laughters, and then a big exhale. People relaxed. They thought, okay, this might not actually be that bad. It ended up being a very good workshop with a very engaged group of stakeholders. And so the bonus tip, as you can imagine, is do not avoid humor. Humor can really save the day. Always have some good jokes, especially dad jokes, I'm a fan, in your back pocket. They can really help. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for your next workshop. If you have any tips of your own, or you have any questions that I might answer, drop them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and good luck.